What is wrong with these people? How can they possibly be doing that? What the Israelis are doing is just, it's beyond all imagination. It's beyond our capacity to imagine such evil. Like anybody with a heart.
Right.
I spend my life teetering on the verge of tears.
Yes.
Well, because you can't possibly put yourself in that position, in their position, those mothers and fathers, those children, those 2.3 million, well, a bit less now, people living in Gaza, being bombarded by F-16s day and night, week after week after week.
I don't know how many children you need to see blow up before you realize there's something wrong with these people we call Israelis. And you know what? They're not people. See, I call them demons, and I'm not saying that for some effect. I don't know what else to call them but demons, because they're the only people I've seen on this planet that go into chat rooms on Telegram and laugh at dead civilians, specifically children. There's a telegram of 122,000 Israelis laughing at the baby that was decapitated in Rafah. Laughing at him and the father holding it. Is that human to you? Does that sound like a person? The most moral military, the most wonderful people, the nation of priests, the light unto the nations, the chosen people. Chosen by who? Chosen by who? You know, the worst part of this, I can expect that from demonic Israelis. I expect that behavior. What breaks my heart is Americans and other people who support these people. They support them. Well, that's war. Oh, so October 7th happened. People died there. Oh my God, it's the worst thing since the Holocaust. But when you see these tens of thousands of civilians getting blown to pieces, well, that's just the way it is. That's just war. That's just war. Americans are saying this. Boomer Americans and all these Zionists, Christians, that's just the way it is. Yeah, it's terrible, but you try to argue with these people. You try to tell them why it's wrong. You know what? Stop trying to tell them. Start showing them the videos. Shove it in their face. Be like, this is Christian? Blowing up this baby is Christian? Christ would do this? And shame them. This is what they do? This is good? This is what Jesus would do, you sick fuck? And start shaming them like you'd shame a pedophile. We are beyond arguments at this point. We need to start shaming people who support these demons blowing up children, because that's what they are. So just like you would shame a pedophile, start shaming Zionists everywhere they show their fucking head. You shame them, and you show the people what they're doing. No more arguing.
Do you know anything about that? What can you report at this stage? All right. Yumna, please take cover.
So many times when I went after a bombing that just happened, I literally felt like I was standing over a mass grave. But not just a grave of people who are dead, but people who are alive and they're stuck there. The attack resulted in the killing of Wael's wife, his daughter Sham, his son Mahmoud, his grandson Adam, and the injury of other family members. For him to be targeted, for his family to be targeted, it's very devastating for us as journalists. Less than a week after the killing of Wael's family, a call comes from a private number on my husband's mobile phone.
He gave my husband's full name and told him that this is the Israeli army.
And he was like, "We know who you are. Take your family and leave your home. Otherwise, your lives are in danger." So my husband was like, "So if you know who I am, then you know that The bombardments around my home are non-stop. How do you expect me to take my kids and leave my home and risk their lives? And he was like, this is your problem. You need to figure it out. And I can't get over. My 12-year-old, Aline, when this happened, she screamed at me. She was like, they're going to kill us because of you. They're going to kill us because of you. Everyone in the building was screaming. Everyone. It was like the kids are screaming, we're hugging each other, we're under the kitchen bar, we're terrified. And then they decided to speak to us in their mics. And they said that we have 5 minutes to leave the building. So we grabbed our children and we left.
There's a lot of gunfire ongoing now, exchange of gunfire and bullets. We've just started heading out. Just nothing safe at all. Nothing at all feels safe.
لقيت طبعا زنانات فوقي والطيارات، لقيت الدبابة في كل مكان عند التشريع، قناصات وين مكان.
We were asked to walk holding a white flag in one hand, raising the ID on the other hand. Everyone, including the children. Then they say, this person wearing this color shirt, get out of the line. And then they would make them strip completely to their underwear in front of everyone.
هاي مش طريقة آمنة، هاي كذبت إنه هاي الطريقة. هون جثث على الأرض، هاي الجثث شو مالها؟ مطخوخة في الشارع.
Those who were killed, everything was left on the ground for the people who were crossing to see. I made my children promise me that they would not look at the ground at all, not once. I just instructed them to look straight. Do not look at the ground. Do not look down.
Starvation of civilians as a method of warfare has been recognized as a war crime, at least since the judgment of the Nuremberg Tribunal in 1946. 8 decades later, it is Israel that is deliberately starving more than 2 million Palestinian civilians in Gaza to achieve its purported war ends by cutting off all supplies of food, water, and other essentials of life. This has led the International Criminal Court to charge Prime Minister Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Gallant with the war crime of starvation. The distinguished legal advisor of Mexico, Pablo Arocha Olabuenaga, put it eloquently in an article he published last year. Its title is Starvation is Starvation is Starvation. People in Gaza are being starved to death, and we are all witnessing it, if not complicit in it. But this human tragedy is a deliberate choice. It is the consequence of a political decision. It is both avoidable and reversible. All of us, as diplomats, international lawyers, humanitarians, but most importantly as individuals, have the moral obligation to raise our voices in outcry of this catastrophe and in efforts to stop it. Israeli authorities must ensure complete and unfettered access for humanitarian goods throughout Gaza. Human dignity simply cannot be held hostage to conflict. This must stop. The inhumanity of this Israeli policy is compounded by its unlawful objective to forever extinguish the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination, including a sovereign and independent state in their own territory, as part of the two-state solution that the international community demands. Mr. President, killing and maiming hundreds of thousands and starving and attempting to displace millions of Palestinians out of Palestine amounts to no less than destroying them as a group.
הלילה נהרגו כמעט 100 עזתים בעזה, וזה כבר לא מעניין אף אחד, כי כולם התרגלו שאפשר להרוג 100 עזתים בלילה אחד במלחמה, וזה לא מעניין אף אחד בעולם.
Israel continues to commit the greatest evil the world has witnessed in recent memory. 2 weeks ago, we debated its use of starvation as a weapon of war. This week, we witnessed the targeting of healthcare workers and rescuers in Gaza. A mass grave discovered containing 15 humanitarian workers, executed one by one, buried in by an Israeli bulldozer. Their crime, wearing the Red Crescent. And as Israel bombards Palestinians with relentless airstrikes, enforces mass evacuation orders in southern Gaza and erects new checkpoints to strangle movement in the West Bank, it blocks the very people and medical equipment who could save innocent lives. Meanwhile, some members of this Parliament dare to call for the defunding of the only agency that can still help, UNRWA. I now hear 2 Irish citizens, Roberta Murray and Shane O'Brien, being deported from Germany for engaging in pro-Palestinian protests. Those 2 protesters have more courage than most MEPs in this Parliament. History will hail them. History will condemn members of this Parliament who have blood on their hands. End the association agreement with Israel.
Burned babies in ovens.
That didn't happen. There were no babies in ovens.
Oh, yes, they were.
No, there weren't. That's been refuted even by the Israelis.
There were.
No, there weren't.
There were.
There were no babies in ovens.
Well.
But let's agree. But hold on. Let's agree on what we do agree on, okay? A horrible massacre happened. People were killed in their homes. Civilians. Hold on a second.
Were killed. Were raped.
David, no. Look. Let's agree that was bad enough without adding stuff to it, okay? Now, I'm telling you, there's been no evidence of mass deliberate rapes. No such evidence.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry, there's no such evidence.
Oh yes, of course there was.
No, there isn't.
There was a woman in the United Nations that came to Israel and did the research and brought those evidence to the United Nations.
I'll let you finish your question.
My
okay.
question is, how do I find compassion for these people?
Which people?
The animals that did that.
The animals that did that. I get your point of view. Okay? In your point of view, everything you read actually happened the way you've read it. Hold on a second. I'm telling you what I understand your point of view to this. There was mass rapes, children beheaded, put into ovens, so on. Okay, now, objectively, I'm telling you, I looked at all the evidence I could. There were horrible massacres. Let's agree on that, okay? There were hostages, including young children and elderly people, civilians that should never have been captured, that were taken into captivity. Let's agree on that, okay? On the specific issues of babies in ovens and mass rapes, you and I are not going to agree, because I looked at evidence that you haven't looked at. But hold on a second. Let's just agree on what we do agree on, okay? And then let's take your question. How do we have compassion for these animals? Well, I'm not going to get into a big political rant here, but I'll tell you what I think very quickly, okay? If I saw the world from the perspective that you see the world from, I would 100% agree with you. But that's not how I see the world. That's not how I see the world. Number one. Number two, I've been to Palestine. 2.5 years ago, I went there to work with Palestinian women who've been tortured in Israeli jails, which has been documented by Israeli Physicians for Human Rights, by B'Tselem, the Israeli Human Rights Organization, by United Nations and others. Nobody ever talks about the thousands of Palestinians. Did you know that 2 Palestinian doctors were tortured to death recently by Israel? Doctors tortured to death. Now my question to you is, and I'm not going to go into the history, this is not the place for it, but I have a different view of the history. I used to see it the way you do. I don't anymore. I'm not going to go into how I do see the history, because this is not the, just let me finish. Honest to God, I'll give you the last word, I promise you. I do promise to give it, okay? History did not begin on October the 7th. And here's what I know. Most of my fellow Jews, now in Canada, you know, I mentioned the residential schools. In Canada, 4 years ago, there was a poll, a national poll. Now, thousands of children died in those schools. People were tortured, raped, all kinds of stuff. Not even controversial. There was a poll in Canada. 70% of Canadians 4 years ago said they knew nothing or little about the residential schools. 70% of Canadians knew nothing or little about the residential schools. So what happened to indigenous people? If you do a poll in the United States based on all the Hollywood movies that people have seen, until very few years ago and even now, most people will know nothing about what happened to the indigenous people here. Nothing. The genocide, the torture, the rape, the starvation. They know nothing about it. And in some states in the United States, it's illegal to even to teach it in the schools. Now, do you think the average Jew knows anything about the indigenous people of Palestine? No, just a second. So, these animals that you talk about, you know, the first massacre of Palestinians in Gaza didn't happen last year. Didn't even happen 4 or 5 years ago when they killed hundreds of children with their bombs. It happened in 1956. But just let me just a second. In 1956, they massacred 200 civilians. Do you know about it? Do you know about it? You've never heard of it. Of course you haven't heard of it. That's why you can call them animals. Otherwise, you'd see them like human beings like the rest of us.
Israel is a settler colonial state, and the logic of settler colonialism is the elimination of the natives in order to take over the land and its resources. And this is what Israel is doing, not just in Gaza, but in the West Bank as well. The aim of the Zionist movement from the beginning was to establish a Jewish state on as large a part of historic Palestine as possible, with as few Arabs inside its borders as possible. This is what they are doing today in both Gaza and the West Bank. Israel is not part of the region, and it's never wanted to be part of the region, but Israel has never been as alienated from its regional environment as it is today. In the past, Israeli leaders used to claim that their aim is peaceful coexistence with their neighbors. Today, it's quite clear that Israel's aim is not coexistence, but domination and military supremacy. Ever since the Second Intifada in 2000, Israeli society has been moving steadily to the right, and the composition of the present government reflects this shift to the right. The most influential members of this government after Netanyahu are Bezalel Smotrich, the leader of religious Zionism, and Itamar Ben-Gvir, the leader of Jewish power. Smotrich and Ben-Gvir are fascists, they are Jewish fascists, and yet they set the tone for the entire government. Their agenda, which they make no effort to conceal, their agenda is the ethnic cleansing of Gaza and the West Bank, and eventually the formal annexation of the West Bank. Benjamin Netanyahu is not their prisoner. Some people think that he has to go along with them in order to survive politically, but he's as extreme as they are, and he shares their agenda. He has the dubious distinction of being a fugitive from law at home and abroad, because he's on trial in Israel for serious corruption charges, and also, as we heard a minute ago, there is an ICC warrant for his arrest. This government is congenitally incapable of making peace or even sustaining a ceasefire. It is a proponent of permanent conflict and permanent war. Israel claims that it has the right to self-defense, and its Western allies like Starmer and Lamy repeat this claim parrot-like. But Israel does not enjoy the right to self-defense, because under international law you have the right to self-defense if you are attacked by another country. This clearly is not the case. Nor do you have the right to self-defense if the attack comes from an area under your occupation. Nor is this a war between Israel and Hamas. Like its previous 7 military offensives since Cast-led in 2008, this is an assault on the whole people of Gaza. The declared aim of this war is the eradication of Hamas, and this aim is clearly unattainable. The real aim is to render the enclave uninhabitable and the ethnic cleansing of the enclave. Israel has turned Gaza into a wasteland and into a mass grave. The leading Israeli experts on genocide and the Holocaust have said categorically that this is a classic example of genocide. America and Britain are not just complicit in Israel's war crimes, they are active partners in these war crimes. So, like Israel, America and Britain are likely to go down on the wrong side of history. Thank you for listening.
We are deeply complicit in all of this death and suffering. Last year alone, the United States provided $18 billion in military aid to Israel and delivered more than 50,000 tons of military equipment. It is American bombs and American military equipment that is being used to destroy Gaza, kill 50,000 people, injure over 110,000 people. We cannot hide from that reality. Mr. President, if we condone the barbarism that is taking place in Gaza today, we will have no standing in the world to condemn the horrors and war crimes that other countries may commit. You're not going to be able to look at China or Russia or Saudi Arabia or any other country and say, look, how terrible. Look what they're doing to the children, to the women, to innocent people. We will have no credibility because they will come back and say, really? You're really concerned about what China, Russia, Saudi Arabia may be doing? Hey, take a look at what you supported in Gaza and the billions of dollars in aid you gave to Netanyahu's government. Mr. President, today is a day to stand up to barbarism in Gaza and to do our best to prevent future barbaric acts all over the world.
Congressman Wilson, do you have anything to say about the children that are dying every day in Gaza? 100 children dying or being injured every single day in Gaza.
Hamas using human shields.
See, there's not an answer. Do you have any sympathy at all for children, is the question. Do you have any sympathy for children, is the question. Do you lack the moral character to answer a question, sir? Do you lack the moral character to answer a question? That's victim blaming, sir.
No, it's
That's
not.
victim blaming.
No, Hamas has stopped using human shields.
We've seen the photos that doctors have showed us of snipers sniping children in the head. Is that Hamas's fault?
Of course.
Is the killing
We're using them as human shields.
Is the killing of a 14-year-old American Palestinian in the West Bank Hamas's fault?
Hey, human shields.
Human shields. Everybody in Iraq must have been a human shield. Did you kill people in Iraq? Yes, you did. And you all blame them as human shields. Everybody in the world is a human shield except for you, sir, because you are a liar. That's why they call you Joe the Liar Wilson.
I'm very grateful that two of my sons served in Iraq to help free the country.
Free the country?
Yeah.
Have you seen the condition of Iraq right now? The trillions of dollars we spent destroying that country. It had the greatest education system in the Middle East. You support dictators, sir. You support dictators. You support Sisi, the worst dictator in the Middle East. You support Sisi, the worst dictator in the Middle East. Now answer the question about children. Sisi. Yeah, the president of Egypt.
Shouldn't we be bombing Israel right now? So when are we going to start bombing the dictators out of Israel? Are you loyal to the United States because you're wearing foreign colors on your lapel pin, sir?
Congressman, when we talk about the 14-year-old Americans from New Jersey, there is no Hamas governing the West Bank. So how could you blame that on Hamas?
Well, there is an extremist element there.
No, there were kids that were in their family's garden and their family's
You are atrocious, man. You don't have any moral character, man. You just make up a story. You say, oh yeah, but there's other human shields.
So careful.
Love the people of Israel.
Do you love the people, the Palestinian people?
I love all persons to be free and independent.
Are there a lot of civilians in Gaza that are being killed by U.S. bombs?
That's because of human shields.
So you're saying that everybody being killed is a human shield? That doesn't make sense.
No, that's what it is. Human shields.
Well,
have you heard of October 7th?
Human shield. There's the truth. Human shield. Human shield. Human shield. Human shield. Human shield. Human shield. This is my only response. Human shield.
È così, perché io so che lei è in difficoltà, perché oggi lei è stata profondamente ipocrita, non ha avuto il coraggio di condannare ciò che è di fronte agli occhi del mondo, uno sterminio, una deportazione, una pulizia etnica. Di questo lei si deve vergognare di fronte al popolo italiano.
Concluda.
Lei si deve vergognare.
Concluda.
Io sono inorridito, indignato dalla sua ipocrisia. Un'ipocrisia che non ha avuto il coraggio di condannare i fatti criminali che stanno accadendo. Ma lei, da madre, come si sente a vedere bambini uccisi 18.000? Non ha il coraggio di condannare i ministri del governo Netanyahu che dicono che bisogna bombardare i depositi alimentari. E di fronte a questo lei non ha il coraggio di dire condanno quello che sta facendo il governo di Israele. Questo lo trovo francamente un'ipocrisia che di fronte al popolo italiano, e sono sicuro di interpretare il sentimento maggioritario del popolo italiano, che di fronte all'orrore che stiamo vedendo lei non è in grado di esprimere una parola di condanna, di dire sanzioni a chi uccide bambini, a chi uccide un popolo inerme, sanzioni, le stesse sanzioni che avete deciso per la Russia. Io le dico perché lei sta facendo questo, signora Presidente, perché lei sta facendo un calcolo politico. È più importante mantenere il suo potere, non inimicarsi Israele, non inimicarsi Washington, comprare armi da loro, vendere armi a Israele.
Last Friday on the Late Late Show, you said you don't believe that Irish skies are being used to transport weapons to Israel. I'm very happy to pass over a folder of waybills from the airlines themselves. The airlines themselves are declaring they're carrying weapons. And we actually need action.
You might have served the laws
Would you like
of the
me to drop these over to you so that you have them? Thousands of tons of weaponry flown through Irish airspace, sovereign airspace, since October 2023 to the Israeli military. F-35 combat jet components, munitions from Lockheed Martin and IMI systems, missile launchers, Smith & Wesson handguns, ammunition primer, detonator, detonating fuses, tear gas, I could go on. Multiple airlines doing it repeatedly. Lufthansa, Delta Airlines, FedEx, Challenge, Silkway Airlines, El Al. They're flown without permission from the Irish state. It's a criminal offence which carries a 3-year prison sentence for the owner or hirer of the aircraft. But you're not just turning a blind eye to it, you're gaslighting us about it. You told the Dáil last June that no Irish sovereign airspace is being used to transport weapons to the conflict in the Middle East. Last Friday on the Late Late Show, you said you don't believe that Irish skies are being used to transport weapons to Israel. Now you
I also point out one thing to you, Mr. Rufián, we do not trade with a genocidal state. We do not, Your Honor. And I believe that the other day, from this platform, I explicitly explained precisely what we were talking about when it was said about some things that do not align with the truth.
Who do you support? Hamas or Israel?
Before, I don't like Israel, you know, before. But right now, I think everyone doesn't like Israel, bro. Right now.
You ugly.
You handsome, yeah.
Yes, I know.
Of course.
I know.
Look at your head, bro. It's very good, like.
I know, and you no.
Your head looks like my balls, you know, like.
The problem now.
Why?
I come into you.
Come, but don't take my house. Take my house.
You did.
Oh, okay, but you don't got the look, you know, to kill a soldier. I think you haven't killed any soldier. The only people you kill is baby, children,
you don't know me.
and women, right?
I know you.
It's like you take Palestinian.
I take all of you.
Yeah, that's what you do, right? You're the terrorist. Should be scared.
You're a terrorist.
You're the one who want to take me. What the definition of terrorist? Tell me. Explain.
Killing people.
And what the IDF did? What did you do? You ain't got the look to kill a soldier.
Shake it.
The only people you've killed, women, children, and babies. Okay? Go to TikTok, dance it.
45,000 people dead in Gaza.
Wow.
How do you feel?
It's very hard to be happy about it, but in a way, it makes me much more. I feel more secure after 45,000 terrorists died. I don't believe in innocent people in Gaza. As general.
Children?
Well, even children. You know, you don't see shows. You don't speak to the children. It doesn't matter. Children, they get it from since they're babies, they get it. Kill a Jew and you'll be in heaven. Doesn't make different if he's a child 10, or I should let him grow up until he'll be 18 and then to wait until he's gonna come with a rifle or a gun and shoot me. That's not, they don't educate for peace, love, or whatever. They educate for killing Jews.
Babies?
Babies? I wouldn't kill no baby. But I'm not gonna stop bombing because there's babies in enemy cities or in enemy places because they kill my babies. So what should I do? If they throw rockets from a kindergarten, what should I do? Should I let them because there's babies there? No one would do that. I have to protect my babies, not protect their babies. If they want to protect their babies, take them out. What the fuck? Take them out.
Israel.
Okay.
We are from Israel.
And?
We want to go like Trump.
We want to go like Trump. We want to be big fat white men. And what do you think about when someone says free Palestine?
They don't know the truth.
They don't know the truth. I also don't know the truth. Okay, what's the
Because
truth?
I'm living in Israel and I know what happened.
Just like only the Nazis knew what happened in Germany.
And the terrorists have to kill all of them, and we love peace.
We have to kill everybody. But we love peace.
The easier way is to say to finish them out, but you really can't say that.
So much easier. Just finish them out. But I can't say it, even though I just said it. But I shouldn't say it, even though I'm saying it.
Basically to free them in their own place.
Free them in their own place. Let me explain. This is a very Israeli thing. Like, language is very complicated for the rest of the world, but Israel invented languages. So, free them in their own place. It's like we give them a small space, like a very small, tiny place, and they can be free in that small place. You think that Palestinians should just be kicked out?
To say it in nice words, kicked out, yeah.
See what I mean about the language? A nice way to say it is to kick them out. Again, the rest of the world doesn't understand what nice means because Israel invented nice too. Like, it's nice to kick somebody out because that is the nicest thing that any Israeli can do.
But to be in their own jail. That's it.
Jail?
In their own place, we give them food, we give them their jobs, they can live their own life.
Yeah, we give them a jail. Why are they not happy to live in a jail?
But
what if they escape?
They can't. There has to be a thing that they cannot escape.
They should not escape. They cannot escape. I told you, they have to be free in their own place.
At the end of the day, if you do give an animal food, and I'm trying to talk nice here, but...
Hey, I'm trying to be nice here. I'm trying to use nice words like kick them out, put them in a jail, treat them like animals, finish them off. This is us being very nice.
But if you do give them food and a nice place to eat...
Yeah, we sometimes give food to them, and they have a place where they can eat, like a small place where they can be free within that small place. But
they won't be happy because they want to rule the world, which they won't.
Yeah, they will still not be happy with all the stuff that we do for them. We are being so nice. We give them a small place, we give them food, but they're not happy with that. They want to rule the world. That's never gonna happen because we want to rule the world. But we are nice and we love peace.
Have you ever seen anything like you saw in Gaza?
No. Never. And you try to prepare yourself for a visit like that. You talk to people who've been, but nothing can prepare you for that. I feared the worst, and it was much worse than I'd anticipated. I'd been in southern Israel, I'd been to Nir Oz, one of the kibbutz that was attacked on October the 7th. A quarter of people there were taken hostage or killed. And then I drove across the border from southern Israel into northern Gaza through the Eretz checkpoint. And it's just wasteland for miles and miles and miles. You know, people are talking about a resumption of the conflict. There's nothing left to bomb there. My staff who stayed all the way through this conflict had to use GPS to find where their homes were because there were no landmarks to navigate by. You see people pulling bodies from the rubble. You see animals going through the rubble looking for corpses. It's a horror show. It's a complete horror show. As you get into the south of Gaza, you see life coming back a bit more. But certainly the north of Gaza, it's utter, utter devastation. And yet, everyone I met said, we're determined to stay, give us a tent, give us some fuel, we'll rebuild our lives.
President Trump, of course, has his plan where he says he wants to remove the people of Gaza. The UN's been very clear that it does not agree with that. The Secretary General said it would amount to ethnic cleansing. But does Trump have a point with regard to the conditions in Gaza? He says it's unlivable. It's not possible for people to stay there. What's your view in that? Can people stay in place while Gaza is rebuilt?
Well, I mean, the conditions are absolutely devastating. And, you know, it's hard to imagine how people are managing to survive there. But I think we should ask the Palestinians, as I did. And the people of Gaza are finding ways to survive. They've survived months and months of this devastating, devastating conflict. And now they're surviving in the conditions they're in. And what they're saying to us is, give us the tents. And they're going back to the rubble of their houses. They're clearing away the unexploded ordnance. They're clearing out the corpses and they're putting the tents back on the ruins of their houses and trying to live there. So President Trump is right that the conditions are horrific for human life. But amidst that despair, people are trying to rebuild their lives.
I remember I had a debate with an Israeli spokesperson who said, you're wrong about Israel. Come visit Israel and we'll show you the truth. And so I said, okay, I'll see the truth for myself. So I went in 2016 and wow, it was a transformative, life-changing trip. Everything that I thought I knew was actually much worse than I had even thought. I spent 4 weeks traveling all across the West Bank, small villages, refugee camps. I remember going to Hebron, which was the most visceral example of Israeli apartheid I'd ever seen. And then, of course, going into the borders of 48 was just the absolute dichotomous opposite. Spending several weeks with Palestinians, hearing their hearts poured open, the most beautiful, welcoming, gracious people I've ever met in my life. And no one ever said anything remotely racist. No one said anything remotely anti-Semitic. And it was just the opposite of the narrative that we've been told our whole lives. Now, going into the borders of 48, the racism and bigotry was visceral. It was palpable to the point where I couldn't even bear to be there for more than a couple hours. I was so disgusted with how racist Israelis were. And there's a reason why Americans are not shown what Israeli society thinks and believes on camera. We're only shown a very sanitized version of what Israeli society thinks and believes because they handpick spokespeople with American accents to speak to Americans. Israelis don't ever speak for themselves.
Why do you refuse to condemn Hamas when, in fact, it's actually so easy to do that, and there are repercussions for not playing that game?
Because I've been to Gaza. I've been to Ramallah. I have seen the infrastructure of apartheid. In war, as part of the Geneva Convention, it's a recognized duty of prisoners of war to escape. What about 2 million people who have been encased behind barbed wire, whose children were malnourished before the 7th of October? 60% of kids, according to the United Nations, were malnourished before the 7th of October, who have no right to travel, who have no right to dream. Their airport was tore up by the Israeli army. There is no port. Netanyahu himself made a point that we will keep them hungry, but not to the level of famine. He was saying that for years before the 7th of October. The people who find themselves in that situation would not be human if they didn't try to bring down that wall. Now, I'm not passing judgment on Hamas because Hamas, for better or for worse, ended up being the only resistance organization that expressed this duty, not right, but duty of the people of Gaza, of the people of...
People are starving. Yeah, eat this grass as they eat in Gaza. You are smiling, you are smirking. You've got no bloody shame. We want you out of Africa. Call out the genocide. Call out the apartheid. Call out the Holocaust. You have collaborated with the Israeli government. You provided them with arms. We are calling you out. Drop the bloody arms to Israel. You are hurting me. That's what a disgrace that you are pulling me out of here. Don't tell me about decorum, please. Decorum is a killing of children in Gaza. Decorum is the incineration of people in Gaza.
Who was the first head of state who advocated for the creation of a free Palestine state? That was Mitterrand. Who saved the life of Yasser Arafat? French soldiers. I went to Gaza 20 years ago.
Say the word, genocide. You called out the bloody Middle East for your interests.
You have done nothing for Palestine so far. Thank you very much.
Yes, and you are racist European colonialists. You killed 1.2 million Algerians. You are horrible.
Why did you sacrifice the rules-based order on the mantle of your commitment to Zionism? Why did you allow my friends to be massacred? Why did you allow my friends' homes in Gaza to be destroyed when we had a deal in May? You helped destroy our religion, Judaism, by associating it with fascism. You waved the white flag before Netanyahu. You waved the white flag before Israeli fascism. Your father-in-law was an Israel lobbyist. Your grandfather was an Israel lobbyist. Are you compromised by Israel? Why did you allow the Holocaust of our time to happen? How does it feel to have your legacy be genocide? How does it feel to have your legacy be genocide? You too, Matt. You smirk through the whole thing every day. You smirk through a genocide.
Thank you. Miller has explicitly told me he will not answer my question. I'm justified in what I'm doing.
I have no greater pleasure in this job than crossing off a list I carry in my pocket the names of those who have been arbitrarily detained and unfairly held hostage, unjustly held hostage, and bringing them home, returning them to their families, returning to their loved ones. Finally,
get your hands off me. 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 Answer a damn question. Do you know about the Hannibal Directive? Do you know about Israel's nuclear weapons? Everybody from the ICJ. I was sitting here quietly, and now I'm being manhandled by 2 or 3 people. You pontificate about a free press. You pontificate about a free press. You are hurting me. You are hurting me. You are hurting me. I am asking questions after being told by Matt Miller that he will not answer my questions, and so I'm asking questions. Wasn't the point of the May 31st statement to block the ICJ orders? You blocked the ICJ orders.
Please, sir, respect the process.
Respect the process. Respect the process. Well, everybody from Amnesty International, to the ICJ, saying that Israel is doing genocide and extermination, and you're telling me to respect the process. Criminal! Why aren't you in The Hague? Why aren't you in The Hague? Why aren't you in The Hague?
It's okay, it's fine. What have I done? I'm going to speak to you over here. What have I done? I'm going to speak to you over here.
Jesus Christ.
I think the reason for the arrest is simple. They are trying to intimidate, to criminalize, and to silence Jews with a public profile who are supporting the end of genocide.
It's okay, it's fine. What have I done? I'm going to speak to you over here.
What has he said? You may have the wrong person. You may have the wrong individual.
Stand back, please. Look, I just stand across here so that he can go.
I said, "You're arresting me as a terrorist?" And what is this? And they said, "You have said something that is supportive of proscribed organizations, and we're taking you to the police station."
We therefore call
on all countries. There are probably now more Jews supporting Palestine and against the genocide than the other way. And we're not allowed to speak. They speak in our name. Israel speaks in the name of all Jews, supposedly, when it does those crimes. And, we are totally against it, and we're not allowed to speak because we are criminalized when we speak, we're silenced, and we're harassed and intimidated.
Destruction and death it has caused since 1948.
I have been a peace activist all my adult life. I have been acting in anti-Zionist organizations against Israeli war crimes and now against the genocide. It's possible that my opposition to brutality and genocide was influenced by both my parents surviving Auschwitz and 2 other camps after Auschwitz. Both my mother and my father were force-marched to other Nazi camps, my father in Austria and my mother in Germany. So they survived a terrifying genocide. Their whole family was killed in this event by the Nazis. Sometimes when I look at the material that comes from Gaza, I think it's much worse, not because the numbers are similar or because anything else is similar. It's not similar. But because, my parents suffered for 6 years in the war. They suffered terribly. But the Palestinians have now suffered for 76 years. And there is nothing on the horizon that looks like an end to their suffering. And the suffering in Gaza.
To clear the rubble, the UN tells us. And
I'm at the demonstration together with other survivors and families of survivors. My wife's family also was destroyed in the Holocaust. We are both in our 70s. I'm 79. And we are every demo. I did not miss any demo apart from the one that I couldn't attend this Saturday because I was arrested and I was on my way home. Otherwise, we have been to every single demo.
We have the Secretary of Defense here talking, and they're saying that the U.S. budget of $1 trillion for militarism isn't enough for all the threats we face in the world. You know why we face threats in the world? Because we support genocide. That's why we face threats. And if we stop supporting genocide, then we wouldn't face these threats in the world. So I say,
Yeah, why are you doing this in the hallway? Excuse me. Excuse me, why are you doing this here?
So isn't it ironic that the person who speaks out for peace and international law and respect for U.S. law is getting treated like this in the hallway? I'm obviously such a great
she's not.
Probably will be about 100 lawyers signing on to this letter talking about how the U.S. is violating Leahy laws, is violating the State Department's old laws, and and that's going to the judiciary. I want people to see this is how they treat peacemakers.
This is Officer Woodman. She's doing
in the public when you speak out for stopping a genocide. If you are supporting a genocide, you would be in there being lauded for your work. Everything is upside down. Everything is backwards. People who support morality, decency, an end to the killing, an end to the suffering, an end to the starvation are treated as if we are terrorists. And I'll be taken to jail right now. And I'm being treated, look at how I'm being treated. I mean, it's disgusting.
Medea, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, well, people in Gaza are being treated a lot worse than this, and that's why we're doing this.
We're in this building.
Adler,
they
please,
do not.
The lawyers are saying that the U.S. is violating its own laws by sending weapons. Will you call for an end to the transfer of Adler? We must speak to you. Congressman Adler, will you call for an end to the transfer of U.S. weapons to Israel? About 100 lawyers, including from the State Department, are saying that the U.S. weapons are violating U.S. law and international humanitarian laws. Please, Congressman Nadler, can you turn around for a minute and address me? I'm trying to help stop a genocide. Congressman Nadler, will you do something about this? He is the ranking member of the Judiciary Committee. And now there are all these lawyers, including in the administration, that are saying the U.S. is violating its own laws. And this ranking member of the Judiciary wouldn't even turn around while I'm being arrested for the simple
just need to step back while so that she can be searched and everything. You're allowed to film, but you have to be...
We are breaking the bodies and the minds of the children of Gaza. We are starving the children of Gaza. Because if we don't do something about it, we are complicit in what is happening before our very eyes. We are complicit. We are causing this. You, us, and everyone who does nothing about it. It's horrific. And the children of Gaza should not have to pay the price, as all children have done in the past, for the sins of anyone around them. This just has to stop. Any right-thinking human being will stand up and say this just must stop. And as a doctor, as a physician, as someone watching, more than 1,000 children without limbs, thousands of children with spinal cord injuries and severe head injuries from which they'll never recover, thousands and thousands of children with severe psychological distress that they may never recover from. We are watching this unfold before our very eyes, and we're not doing anything about it. And as a physician, I'm angry. I'm angry with myself that I'm not doing enough. I'm angry with everyone here. I'm angry with you. I'm angry with the world. This should not be happening. It cannot continue. We have to stop it. I'm glad someone asked the question, but this is an abomination. It's an abomination. We have to ask ourselves the question, how much blood is enough to satisfy whatever the political objectives are of any regime.
Your John voice is going on TikTok.
New York tomorrow. We know who you are. I'll tell you another thing. You'll be remembered like a Nazi. And Palestine will be free. Palestine will be free. You're the name of genocide. בסוריה ובמצרים לא היה
Members of the audience are reminded disruptions will not be permitted while the committee conducts its business. The Capitol Police are asked to remove the individuals from the hearing room.
Ben, why are you getting arrested?
Move down the hallway. You will be arrested. Poor kids in Gaza by buying bombs and pays for it by kicking kids off Medicaid in the U.S.
Ben, what are you calling for the Congress and senators to do for Gaza?
They need to let food into Gaza. They need to let food into starving kids. Congress is paying to bomb poor kids in Gaza and paying for it by kicking poor kids off Medicaid in the U.S.